This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm continuing my talk on alternative algaecides to sodium bromide, which is pretty much taken off the market in most of the United States. And I'll go over some algaecides that are based on silver and also some algaecides based on ammonia and PolyQuat 60. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. From me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. If you want to learn more about why sodium bromide was removed from the market, you could listen to the first part where I talk about how the EPA has decided that because there are certain situations where it can turn into bromate, they've decided not to, well, I wouldn't say ban it entirely, but most suppliers don't carry it for that reason because it may probably be banned. I'm not sure if there's actually been an official ban, but there has been an EPA caution because bromate is a carcinogen. So what are the alternatives to sodium bromide? I mentioned in part 1 about using borates and phosphorus removers. In part 2, I covered copper-based algaecides, which took up longer than I thought because there are actually a lot of copper-based algaecide products out there on the market. And then silver is also another way to fight algae in the pool. Believe it or not, silver is as effective as copper. The Nature 2 mineral technology is a device that sits on your pool equipment. It's actually really easy to install. It comes with like a kit so that you can use the drill bit and install it. So it's not rocket science to put it in there. They also sell another version that comes with a chlorinator. So it's something to consider for your pool. And it's mainly silver with copper in there as well. And the way it works, and the reason why it won't stain your pool in most cases, unless you get to a really high silver or copper content, is because it doesn't release all of it at once into the pool. It's kind of ingenious. There's a dial you can use on top to increase or decrease the amount of minerals that are going into the pool. You can kind of hear it working in there. It almost sounds like a popcorn machine a little bit, with the minerals kind of moving inside the Nature 2 unit itself. And they will wear out over time. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to last per pool because it depends on what you set it at as far as how much minerals are released in the pool every day or every week. But I would say you're going to get the entire pool season for sure, and it may even last into the next pool season depending on where you have that dial set. So it is an effective way to control algae in a pool. It's a product that's often overlooked because people think it's really complicated, especially since you have to install it on the equipment pad and it doesn't kind of go into the skimmer or the pump basket. It's interesting because it's really easy to install, and I've gotten pool guys sending me pictures of an old unit that's like faded. You can't even read the label. They're like, hey, what is this device on the equipment? I don't know what this is. It's actually an old Nature 2 unit that's just been sitting there that they never replaced the cartridge. So you can actually take that cartridge off and replace it. And so if you have an old unit on a pool, I bet it's still a functioning connection. You just have to remove the old unit, the old cartridge, and put a new one on, which is really easy to do. So consider that if you have one on a pool and it's been sitting there for a long time, not being used. They're only effective if you change it out when the minerals are used up. So that's why, one of the, I guess, the bad raps it gets is like, hey, these don't work, but you have to change that cartridge for it to work. and it'll just have new minerals in there. It'll work. So I mentioned the copper content of 0.3 to 0.5, and this may cause staining as copper drops out of solution. And so at what level should you keep the silver in the pool? It's interesting that there is no real easy way to test silver in pool water. They do sell a silver ion photometer. It's called the AG5603. No one really tests for silver in the water because honestly, we don't really use a lot of silver in pool water. There's a algaecide called silvertrine, but besides the nature too, silver isn't really something that's used, tremendously in the pool industry to fight algae because there are other ways of fighting algae, but it is a highly effective way. So don't discount the Nature 2 unit. People love them and they are highly effective. If you are using or overdose your pool with any kind of silver algaecide, you're going to get maybe some black and gray stains in there. So just be aware that you want to use these sparingly and always use the recommended dosage and set the Nature 2 based on your pool size so that won't happen. So that's kind of a little bit about silver as an algaecide, which again is not super common out there. So let me transition to a more common algaecide, and this is the PolyQuat 60. These are pretty good actually. They're more of a preventative algaecide, so they're used to kind of keep a maintenance dose in the pool so that you don't have an algae outbreak to begin with. Kind of like what you would use sodium bromide for if you put like a couple ounces in the pool each week. The PolyQuat 60 is non-metallic, so it's not really going to stain the pool. There's no metal in it, and so there's no staining risk. It has a low foaming risk, but it can foam up the water if you use a ton of it, so be careful not to overuse it. It's kind of, I don't know if I would say it's weak. I wouldn't use that word to describe it, but since it's not really made for treating pools with algae already in it, it's not as effective as other algaecides you may use out there. So just be aware that, in my opinion, it's more of a preventative algaecide, although it does treat algae in the pool, and it's one of those things where it doesn't really affect the chlorine level either unless you use a ton of it. So the PolyQuat 60s are pretty popular out there, and they're a pretty effective algaecide. It's also really safe to use, so you can actually use it in the pool, and you won't have to worry about getting in the pool or not swimming for a while. So it's bather friendly. It works with chlorine and bromine and any other oxidizers. So what it does basically is that the PolyQuat 60 it's kind of complicated. I don't want to explain too much here, but it kind of does similar to what borates do to the cell. So it kind of affects the cell membrane, and the cellular content kind of leaks out of it. It's kind of gross if you think about it in that way, but it kind of does the same thing that borates do. It inhibits the algae from growing in the pool. That's why it's not that great when algae is already in the pool, in my opinion, but it is great for preventing algae infestation in the pool. So it's something to use to prevent it, and it will kill algae, don't get me wrong, if it's in the pool. It just takes longer, and it's effective against all algae types, including black algae. One of the most effective polyquats that I think is on the market is called Algae by EasyCare. It's a highly concentrated version of a PolyQuat 60, so I think you're going to find that it's going to be really effective, and it also is pretty effective against black algae, so keep that in mind if you're looking for a good PolyQuat 60. The Algae, I believe Pool Tech is the same as Algae. It's kind of weird. This company, EasyCare, they kind of name their products the same, or differently, I should say, but they have the same active ingredients. And they also have like a closing formula. I don't know if it's called Close Tech. I can't remember what it's called. But if you just want to make sure you get the PolyQuat-based algaecide, then just buy the Algae by EasyCare. EasyCare it's called. So it's spelled it's spelled ALGATEC. So it's Algae without the E. And again, this is probably, in my opinion, the most effective PolyQuat 60 algaecide you can purchase out there in the market. And of course, they're not paying me to say this. It's just in practice, when I've used a PolyQuat, I found this one to be the most effective. Now here's an interesting algaecide. It's one that's often overlooked. It's called Biodex Skillet. I really like this algaecide. In fact, I filmed a video on it. I never finished it because I got busy. I probably should go back and put it together and put it up on YouTube, but I did film it and then I got busy with other projects. You won't believe how many videos I've done that are just kind of sitting there on a hard drive that I never finished. I would say probably 20 or 30 of them because I get busy and then I get sidetracked. I never get back to the project. So those videos never get made, unfortunately, because I'm busy doing the podcasting and the videos and product reviews. So I do get sidetracked often out there. It's an interesting product because it does leave kind of a film on the surface of the pool. So if you have a problem with bees or insects in your pool that are swarming all the time, this is actually a pretty good thing to add to your pool because it does create like a film on the surface and it will trap and kill the insects, or insects won't like landing on it, so they'll go somewhere else. And Skillet, according to the Biodex website, I haven't tried it for this, but Skillet is effective against black algae as well. Since it is a poly-based algicide, it will actually treat black algae. So mustard algae, green algae, and black algae. There's no metal in here, so you don't have to worry about metal going in there. It's a quaternary ammonium compound. Don't ask me what that is. I wouldn't be able to tell you. So it's a kind of a unique algicide, in my opinion. It's pretty effective against mustard algae. And again, it leaves like a film on the surface that traps bugs. So it's a good preventative for bugs in your pool. And again, it's effective. So if you look at the reviews of the Skillet, they sell it just about everywhere. Amazon, Leslie's, your supplier should carry it as well. And it's a great alternative to a copper-based metal algicide or a PolyQuat, or even an ammonia-based. Don't get confused when I say ammonium compound. It's not really an ammonia. So there are ammonia-based algicides, which I'll actually touch on next here. But put the Biodex Skillet on your radar. It's actually a pretty good product, and it's something that's non-toxic as well. It's also great for boatman bugs if you get that in your area, because again, it kind of puts a film on the surface. So consider that if you have boatman bugs in your area. The Skillet is a good product to put in the pool. And I have videos again on most of these products, the PoolRx, the borates, the PolyQuat 60s. And another one that I filmed a video on is called Yellow Out. I think there's a partner chemical, same formula. It's called Green to Clean, made by the same company. I believe Natural Chemistry owns this now. It was Coral Products before, or Coral Sea Products or something, and I'm not certain, but maybe Natural Chemistry has purchased this product. So it is an ammonia-based algicide. It's effective for use in a really green pool or a pool that has like a ton of yellow algicide. But I found it to be really ineffective as a weekly algicide, or if you have a small amount of mustard algae here and there. I just found that it's not effective in spot algae treatment. It's mainly effective when you're treating an entirely green pool or a pool that's completely covered in mustard algae, in my opinion, and it works best in those particular environments. So it's not, again, a algicide that's going to replace sodium bromide. So I wouldn't suggest Yellow Out, even though it has a name that makes you think that it's sodium bromide, or you think it might replace the yellow trine or the the yellow trine. I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Yellow tree is the other one that's really popular. And even though it says Yellow Out, it's not a sodium bromide based product. It's an ammonia sulfate product. So there's a certain way to use this product as well. And it works specifically with the usage on the back of the label. I'm not going to go into details, but just to say that if you do have a pool that's completely green or has a ton of yellow algae, if you watch the video I filmed on this, and if you look at the literature on this product, it is highly effective in those instances. And since this is kind of a 3-part podcast series on algicides, I think it would be good if I recap everything here for you, or recap most of these here for you. I have a little summary here that I'm going to read. Borates, their boric acid is the main ingredient, and it's mineral-based, non-toxic. It prevents algae, stabilizes the pH, and it's great for long-term algae prevention because, again, it doesn't evaporate out of the pool. Then you have the PoolRx, which is a chelated copper. It's a copper-based mineral, prevents algae, and it's also a long-term solution because it lasts 4 to 6 months. Then you have the Nature 2, which is a silver and copper-based preventative algicide. It also is a long-term algicide because it slowly releases the minerals over the course of months into your pool. Then you have the phosphate remover, which is lanthanum, and this, of course, eliminates one food source of the algae, which is the phosphates. And this is something you have to apply to the pool on a weekly basis, usually depending on what product you're using, and that controls the phosphates. You also have to do an initial phosphate treatment. If you're over 300 parts per billion, you would do the phosphate treatment and then add the maintenance dose every week. Then you have the PolyQuat 60, which in my opinion is a preventative algicide. It's non-metallic and it's a quat-based or PolyQuat algicide, polyquaternurium 60, and something that you want to put in every week to prevent algae. Then you have the skillet, which I mentioned is a kind of unique algicide. It's the quaternary ammonium compound. It's not the PolyQuat, but it's quat-based, not PolyQuat 60. And it's effective against all algae types, yellow, green, and black algae. So if you have black algae, it will also treat the pool effectively for black algae. I mentioned polymerics earlier, but you have a slew of liquid copper-based algicides like the swimtrine and other of the copper algicides that are in liquid form that are not chelated. You can use those also to treat black algae and green algae, and they can raise the copper level in the pool, so you got to be careful with that. You have the Remington Solar Ionizer or non-chlorine Sunshock, which is a copper ionizer, and it works really effectively also. But again, it's not chelated like Polar-X, so it can cause an elevated copper level. And then you have the Yellow Out, which is an ammonia sulfate. And again, I think it's great for large outbreaks of algae or a green pool or a lot of mustard algae, but not as effective in spot treating algae. So there you have kind of an algae talk of alternatives to sodium bromide, and you may want to pick up one of these and test them out. And of course, I've tried all of them, and I can tell you that everything I mentioned is effective in treating and preventing algae in a pool. And to circle back to a point from part one of the most effective ways to treat algae is to prevent it from forming in the first place, and that is by keeping your free chlorine at 7.5% of your cyanuric acid level. So if your cyanuric acid is at 100 parts per million, you're going to need 8 parts per million of free chlorine in the pool daily. If your cyanuric acid is at 50 parts per million, you're going to need to keep the chlorine level at 4 parts per million in the pool daily. And it's just an effective way to make the chlorine work and be effective. I know I used that word twice, but it makes the chlorine much more effective and prevents algae in the pool when you have the proper free chlorine level in the pool on a daily basis. If you're looking for other podcasts, and of course, for the other parts here, I would recommend you subscribe to my podcast or subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I post all of these podcasts on YouTube in order daily as they come out, Monday through Friday. And if you're looking for them as well, go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu of over 1,600 podcasts there for you. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.